This video will detail the two distinctly different distorted rhythm guitar parts that complement each other and form a 12 measure long pattern that is repeated throughout the verses of the song. The bass will also be highlighted. A tab sheet for each part will briefly be displayed at the end of each respective part analysis. These musical parts will also be the foundation of the main guitar solo that enters at 2 minutes and 8 seconds. The tuning used in this video and on the record is standard E and 440 wavelength calibration. The main rhythm is going to be 12 full measures long. The first measure is actually going to be a 1 measure long riff pattern that will repeat itself for the first 7 measures. We'll begin by placing the first finger on the A string at the 2nd fret. This is the B note. It'll be the root note of the chord that we're going to work off of. The third finger will bar the D, G, and B strings at the 4th fret. This is a B major chord. We're going to begin by playing 2 quarter notes, picked down both times on 1 and 2, just like this. 1, 2. On 3, we're going to have an 8th note rest. On the and beat right after 3, we're going to pick this chord upwards and let it ring out as an 8th note. On 4, we're going to pick down and play a ghost note, which will ring out for a 16th note. Okay, what a ghost note is, we're just going to release the pressure on the strings and pick it to produce a clicking sound like this. On E, which is the 16th right after 4, we're going to add a new note to this chord. We're going to stretch the pinky out to the B string on the 5th fret, and we're going to pick upwards. This will ring out as an 8th note. To close up our measure, on the final 16th note, the A beat, we're going to pick up and produce another ghost note. With a 4 count lead in, this is what the first measure is going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and for E, And now we have reached the 8th measure. We're going to start out just like we did on the riff pattern that you just learned. We're going to pick down on 1 and 2. Okay, on 1 you're playing a quarter note, but on 2, this time we're playing an 8th note. On the and beat right after 2, we're going to pick down again, but this time we're producing a ghost note. That'll ring out as a 16th. On the 16th right after the and beat, the A beat, we're going to pick this chord upwards, and it will be tied to a quarter note on 3. Here's what you have so far for the 8th measure. 1, 2, and a 3. We'll finish up the 8th measure by playing this chord again. Okay, we're going to pick it down on 4 and let it ring out as an 8th note. And the next 2 beats are 16th notes, counted and a. They're going to be ghost notes, picked down and up, just like this. So, with the 4 count lead in, here's what the 8th measure is going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and a 3, 4, and a. Let's run through the first 8 measures in sequence just one time. I'm going to play this a little bit more slowly than you'll hear it on the record, just to make it easier to follow along. With the 4 count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and for E, a 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 1, 2, 3, 4, and a. And now we've reached the 9th measure. We're going to work off of an F-sharp 5 power chord. That's where the root note is the first finger on the low E string at the 2nd fret. The 5th is your 3rd finger on the A string at the 4th fret. And the octave is the pinky on the D string at the 4th fret. Okay, we're going to start out by picking down on this and letting it ring out as a quarter note on 1. On 2, we're going to pick it down again, but this time it's going to ring out as a dotted 8th note, which is 3/16 of the measure. On the beat, the final 16th beat after 2, we're going to pick this upwards. On the next 2 beats, 3 and, these are 8th notes, we're going to pick them both down. On 4, we'll pick this down again, let it ring out as another 8th note. We'll close up the measure by playing 2 16th notes on the same chord, pick down and up on Anna. With the 4 count lead in, here's what the 9th measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, Anna. Okay, notice the picking motion. Down, down, up, down, 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 up. Okay, down, down, up, down, 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 up. Okay, the 10th measure is going to be an exact repeat of that. On the 11th measure, we're going to go to the B5 power chord, where the first finger is on the A string at the 2nd fret, that's your root note. The 5th will be the 3rd finger on the D string at the 4th fret, and the octave will be the pinky on the G string at the 4th fret. We're going to pick this down on 1, it'll ring out as an 8th note, and will be at rest for the rest of this measure and the 12th measure. So with the 4 count lead in, here's what measures 9 through 12 are going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's run through all 12 measures in sequence just one time. I won't count aloud as I play, I'm just going to give you the 4 count lead in. Also, let's play this up to record speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. This appears to only be 6 measures, but in reality it's actually 12. Remember that the first measure will be repeated 7 times, and you'll know by the repeat sign at the beginning and the end of the measure. Also, what appears to be measure number 4, that's actually a repeat sign. You'll see the 2 dots with the diagonal line in between them. That means to play the previous measure exactly the same way for that measure. And on what appears to be the 5th measure, you're going to break on 1, then you'll notice a 8th note rest right after that, a half note rest on 2, then you'll see a quarter note rest on 4, then the last measure is a whole note rest. Guitar 2 will also follow a 1 measure long riff pattern that repeats itself for the first 7 measures. We'll begin by placing the first finger on the low E string at the 7th fret and the middle finger on the A string at the 9th fret. The first 2 notes that we play are going to be 8th notes counted 1 and picked down up. On 2, we're going to stretch the pinky out to the A string on the 11th fret, and notice that the first 2 fingers are locked right where they're at. They're not moving. We'll pick this down and let that ring out as an 8th note. Then we'll lift the pinky and go back to the first 2 fingers and play 2 more 16th notes counted and up, pick down and up. This is what we have so far. 1 and 2 and up. Okay, on 3, we're going to play 2 more 16th notes counted 3E, pick down up. On the end beat, what we're going to do is we're going to use the side of our hand to deaden the open E and A strings a little, pick down and produce a ghost note. That'll ring out as a 16th note, and on the beat, the 16th note right after that, we're going to position the third finger onto the A string at the 12th fret and the pinky onto the D string at the 12th fret. We'll pick this up. Here's what we have so far. 1 and 2 and 3 and up. Okay, now to finish up the measure, we're going to do 4 more 16th notes. On 4, we're going to play another ghost note on the open strings. On the E beat, we're going to shift so the third finger is on the A string at the 11th fret and the pinky's on the D string at the 11th fret. We just shifted down a half a step. We'll pick this up on the E beat. On the N beat, we're going to pick down and do another ghost note on them top 2 strings. And on the beat, we're going to go back to our initial starting position with the first finger on the E string at the 7th fret and the middle finger on the A string at the 9th fret. This will be picked up. With the 4 count lead in, here's what the measure is going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and a. And now we have reached the 8th measure. Guitar 2 is actually going to double Guitar 1 note for note. We're going to use the same count and picking pattern. The only difference is we're going to play the B5 power chord in this position where the first finger is the root note on the E string at the 7th fret. Guitar 1 did it here. The only difference between the 2 power chords is that this one here is a little bit bassier sounding, but musically they're notated exactly the same way. With the 4 count lead in, here's what the 8th measure will sound like on Guitar 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and a. Let's run through the first 8 measures in sequence on Guitar 2. I won't count this aloud as I play. I'll just give you the 4 count lead in. Also, I'm going to try to play this slightly slower than what you're going to hear on the record to make it a little easier to follow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we have reached the 9th measure. We're pretty much going to double Guitar 1 for the next 4 measures. For the 9th and 10th measure, we're going to use this chord here, where the first finger is the root note on the A string at the 9th fret, and the third finger is barring the D, G, and B strings at the 11th fret. We're going to use the same count and picking pattern. The only difference between this chord that we're playing now and the power chord that Guitar 1 is playing is that this chord is an octave higher in pitch. On the 11th measure, when we hit the B5 power chord on 1 and then break, we're going to do it here instead of here, where Guitar 1 is breaking. With a 4 count lead in, let's run through measures 9 through 12 just one time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's run through all 12 measures on Guitar 2 in sequence just one time. I won't count aloud as I play. I'm just going to give you the 4 count lead in. Also, this should be a little closer to record speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. The sheet music for Guitar 2 is going to follow the exact same logical approach as Guitar 1. The bass guitar is also going to follow a 1 measure long riff pattern that gets repeated for the first 7 measures. We'll begin by placing the first finger on the A string at the 2nd fret. We'll pick this note down on 1 and let it ring out as a quarter note. On 2, we're going to pick this down again, but this time it rings out as an 8th note. On the and beat right after 2, we're going to release the pressure on the string and pick it down to produce a ghost note. It'll sound like this. That only rings out as a 16th note. On the final 16th note right after 2, we're going to depress the string again and pick that note up. It rings out as a 16th note. On 3, we have a 16th note rest. This is what the first half of the measure is going to sound like. 1, 2, and Okay, now we're on the E beat right after 3. What we're going to do is release that finger, the pressure, and pick that string up to produce another ghost note, which will ring out as a 16th note. On the and beat, we're going to pick the open E string downwards and let that ring out as an 8th note. On 4, we're going to take that first finger and go to the E string at the 2nd fret and play 2 more 16th notes, counted 4 E, pick down and up. And we're going to finish the measure by going to the open A string, pick downwards on the final 8th note. So with the 4 count lead in, this is what the measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and E and 4 E and. And remember, we're going to play that 7 times. And now we have reached the 8th measure. The first 5/8 will be exactly the same as the 1 measure long riff pattern that we played for the first 7 measures. On the and beat right after 3, we're going to do a little fill, which is going to make this one different. We're going to shift with the first finger to the D string at the 1st fret. We're going to play 2 16th notes counted and pick down and up. On 4, we're going to go with the middle finger to the 2nd fret on that same string and play 2 more 16th notes, counted 4 E, and pick down and up. We're going to finish up with 2 more 16th notes. On the and beat, we're going to go with the 3rd finger to that same string at the 3rd fret. We'll pick this down, and on the final 16th note, the beat, we'll go with that pinky to the 4th fret on that same string and pick it up. So this is what the fill is going to sound like. It'll be counted in a 4 E and just like this. In a 4 E and Okay, so with the 4 count lead in, here's what the 8th measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and a 4 E and With a 4 count lead in, let's run through the first 8 measures on the bass guitar just one time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 4 and 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 And now we have reached the 9th measure. We're going to begin by placing the first finger on the low E string at the 2nd fret. The first 2 notes are 8th notes counted 1 in, picked down and up. On 2, we're going to go with the 3rd finger to the D string on the 4th fret. We'll pick this down and let it ring out as an 8th note. And on the and beat right after that, we're going to go back to the 1st finger on the E string at the 2nd fret. We'll pick this up. This is going to be a dotted 8th note, which rings out for 3/16 of the measure through to the 3 beat, which I'm going to keep silent in the count. This is what you have so far for the first half of the measure. 1 and 2 and. Now we're E, the 16th note right after 3. we're going to release the pressure on that E string with the first finger and pick it upwards to produce a ghost note, which rings out for a 16th. On the and beat right after that, we're going to shift to the A string on the first fret with the first finger. We'll pick this down, let it ring out as an 8th note. On 4, we're going to go to the second fret with the middle finger on that same string. We're going to pick this down, let it ring out as an 8th note. The next two notes are going to be 16th notes counted and a, picked down and up. The and beat is the third finger on that same string at the third fret, and the a beat is the pinky on that same string at the fourth fret, picked up. So with the 4-count lead in, this is what the 9th measure will sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and E and 4 and a. We're going to start out the 10th measure by placing the third finger on the D string at the 4th fret. This first note is the only thing that's going to differ than the 9th measure. Otherwise, it's exactly the same thing. We're starting out on the octave instead of the lower note. So with the 4-count lead in, this is what the 10th measure is going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and E and 4 and a. And then on 1 of the next measure, the 11th measure, we're going to place the first finger on the A string at the 2nd fret. We'll pick this down and let it ring out as an 8th note. We're going to play that staccato, which means there'll be a dot below it to play it choppy. Okay, then the rest of the measure, we're at rest. In all the 12th measure, we're also at rest. With the 4-count lead in, let's run through measures 9 through 12 in sequence just one time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and E and 4 and a 1 and 2 and E and 4 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's run through all 12 measures in sequence just one time. I won't count this aloud as I play. I'm just going to give you the 4-count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4. The bass tab will follow the same structure as both the guitar parts.